Today we are going to start explaining the pedigree analysis. Okay, so first of all we are going to start with how to draw what are the symbols of the pedigree. Now let's start analyzing the symbols of the pedigree. If we have a square, it means a male. If we have a circle, it means it's a female. If they are colored in white, they are normal or not affected. If they are colored in black, these individuals are affected. If we draw a line between them, they are a couple or a married couple. If we draw a line that is coming down, then these are the children. If we have a triangle, these are identical twins. Unfinished triangle, non-identical twins. In this picture, we are going to see that this is the pedigree or the family tree. Like we see here, we have some affected and normal individuals. We have the male and the female in each generation. Now, how can we know if this disease is dominant or recessive? First of all, if it is dominant, at least one member in all generations will have the disease, or both affected parents can produce normal offsprings. Parents must be heterozygous. It means that they have two different alleles. If it is a recessive inheritance, it means if the disease is recessive, some generations will be without the disease, or both normal parents can produce. So this is an example on an autosomal dominant pedigree. We see that we have affected parents and we have a normal child. This is an example on an autosomal recessive, like we see here that the parents are normal but they have an affected child. So let's start with an example. Here we have 3 generations. We are going to see that we have 2 family trees. The first one, the couples are normal. In the second generation, we have one affected man or male. In the third generation, we have a male and a female. The first question is to verify that albino allele is recessive. And for the verify, we have to justify. Okay, so let's start answering the first question. We are going to look at the pedigree again. We are going to see that we have a normal couple and an affected child, child number 6. So we are going to start our answer by saying that parents 1 and 2 are normal, but they have an affected child number 6. So the child number 6 has received an abnormal or the albino allele. So child number 6 has received one abnormal allele or the albino allele from one of the parents. Therefore, the albino or the affected allele is masked and recessive. Thus, we can say that albino allele is recessive allele. Okay, now the second question is to designate by symbols the corresponding alleles. To draw the symbols, we have to know that the dominant allele is always capital letter or uppercase letter, and the recessive allele is a lowercase letter. The third question is to identify the genotype of individuals of the third generation. Now let's start answering. I underlined the third generation with the blue color. I'm going to start with couple number 6 and 7. Okay, if we look at number 6, we already said that number 6 is an affected individual, and we already wrote the symbols lowercase letter a. So child number 6 has received A from his dad and A from his mom. Now number 6 is going to give his child, the affected individual, one of these, which is letter A or allele A. And if we are going to look at his mom, we are going to see that she is a normal mom or a normal individual. So of course she has the normal allele, which is an uppercase N, but since her child is an affected individual, so she has a masked recessive allele. So again, let's talk about child number 6. Is a disease with a recessive phenotype. A recessive allele is only expressed phenotypically when it is present in 2 copies or homozygote. Therefore, the genotype of the individual 6 is AA. Now let's talk about number 7. Now let's look at the female or the mother. Since the female or the mother is normal, then she must possess the dominant allele N. And since she has an affected child, a recessive phenotype that is only expressed in the homozygous state, so the genotype of her child should be AA. This child certainly receives an allele A from each of his parents. This means that the father has and the child has received the other allele from his mother. And since the mother is normal, so the mother is a heterozygous of genotype NA. Now I'm going to explain the genotype of individuals 5 and 8. Both of them, they have the same justification and both of them are females. Being normal with a dominant phenotype, then she must possess the dominant allele N. A dominant allele is always expressed phenotypically whether in the homozygous or in the heterozygous state. This means that the second allele can be either N or A, since each of her parents has the genotype NA, and she can receive from them either the allele N or the allele A. Therefore, her genotype can be either N, or. Now let's finish our example with the fourth question. Do the necessary factorial analysis to verify the phenotypes proportions of the descendants of couple 6 and 7. So we are going to start by writing the phenotype of the individuals. The first one is an albino individual and the second one is normal. Then we are going to write the genotype AA and NA. Now we are going to write the gametes. First individual is abnormal or affected and they have the same allele, so we are going to write A. And the second one is normal but heterozygous or a carrier, so we have to draw two gametes. The first one carries the N or the normal allele and the second one carries the A or the albino allele. And this is the table. As a result, we are going to see that half of the generation or the offspring are going to be normal and half of them are going to be affected. Again, this is a theoretical analysis or theoretical results. Okay, so finally we are going to write the results, the phenotype or the genotype. These are the phenotype results, and we have half normal and half albino, and we are going to say that the results are verified.